The Ugly Duckling. It was a beautiful summer's day in the countryside. The hay had been mowed and the corn was ripe in the fields. A river flowed peacefully beside the fields, winding its way down past an old farmhouse. Along the river banks grew thick reeds, and in these reeds a mother duck brooded on her nest, waiting for her eggs to hatch. Finally, the eggs began to hatch. One by one, the little ducklings poked their heads out. "Cheep, cheep," they cried as they came out into the world. Soon all the eggs had hatched, except for one, the biggest of all the eggs. The mother duck had to keep brooding on the big egg until it was ready to hatch. Finally, the last egg began to hatch, and as the duckling came out of its egg, the mother noticed that it was not the same as her other ducklings. "Oh my, you are a big and ugly one, aren't you?" the mother duck exclaimed. The next day was warm and sunny, and the mother duck took her new family to the river to splash in the water. One by one, the little ducklings followed her. Soon all of them were swimming in a line behind their mother, even the big ugly duckling. When they had finished swimming, the mother duck took her ducklings to the barn near the old farmhouse. "Stay close to me and watch out for the cat," the mother duck warned. "And don't forget to be polite to that duck over there." It was the oldest and most important duck in the farmyard. The ducklings waddled close to their mother, remembering to bow deeply to the older, important duck. The older duck noticed that they were all pretty little ducklings, all, that is, except for one. All the ducklings lived happily with their mother in the barn, except for the ugly duckling. He just didn't seem to fit in. The other ducks pecked him and laughed at him. He couldn't find any peace anywhere. One day, the ugly duckling became so sad that he decided to leave. He walked and walked in search of a better place to stay. After walking for a whole day, the ugly duckling arrived exhausted at a big marsh. The ugly duckling lay exhausted in the reeds and slept there for 2 whole days until he was awakened by laughter. Curious wild ducks and geese were peering through the reeds, laughing at the ugly duckling. "Isn't he an ugly one?" they said as they laughed. In misery, the ugly duckling ran as far away from the big marsh as his little legs could carry him. The ugly duckling became very tired and cold, and as the day went on, the wind started to blow. It was already getting dark when the ugly duckling came to a small cottage. It was a very old cottage. Even the old door had fallen off its hinges. At the bottom of the door was a small opening that the duckling was only just able to squeeze into to get out of the cold. The ugly duckling curled up and went to sleep inside the cottage. In the morning, the old woman who lived in the cottage discovered the ugly duckling. The old woman lived with a purring cat and a hen that sat on its nest laying eggs. The old woman looked at the duckling and then said joyously, "Oh, how nice! Now we shall have some duck eggs." The old woman was happy to let the ugly duckling stay with them in the cottage. So the ugly duckling stayed in the small cottage with the old woman, the cat, and the hen. But the ugly duckling did not lay any eggs. "Can you purr?" the cat asked it one day. "No, I cannot," answered the ugly duckling.
"Well, can you lay eggs then?"
asked the hen. "No, I cannot," sighed the ugly duckling sadly.
"Then we have decided that you should go," they said together.
The ugly duckling set off on its way again, heading back towards the big marsh. Wherever he went, the birds and animals teased the poor ugly duckling, calling him ugly. Winter was on its way. The trees shed their leaves, and the ground became cold and hard. The duckling was lonely and cold, and had nowhere to go. One morning, a flock of birds flew over him. They were beautiful white swans that had long white necks, and they looked strong and regal. "If only I could be like that," sighed the ugly duckling. As winter came, it got colder and colder. Soon the whole marsh was frozen. The poor ugly duckling had to use his beak to break a hole in the ice for a drink of water. One night, he was so tired that he fell asleep on the ice. When morning came, a kind old farmer found the ugly duckling lying on the frozen pond. He carried the ugly duckling home so that his wife could take care of it. When the ugly duckling was finally feeling better, the farmer's children wanted to play with him. But the little duckling didn't understand what playing was, and instead he grew very scared and tried to escape. Flapping his little wings as hard as he could, he flew over to the milk bucket, and then to the flour barrel. And the children laughed as they tried to catch him. Then the ugly duckling managed to fly out of an open window as he was scared for his life. All through the rest of the winter, the ugly duckling hid in the reeds surrounding the marsh. And finally, after what seemed like an eternity, the warmth of spring started to wake the marsh out of its winter slumber. One warm spring day, the ugly duckling spread his wings. Now they were strong enough to let him soar high up into the sky. The ugly duckling flew over the fields and rivers and landed in a pond in which there were 3 beautiful white swans. When he landed in the calm pond, he noticed his own reflection in the still water. To his surprise, he could see that he was no longer a big, ugly duckling. He was indeed a beautiful, regal, white swan. Gliding across the water, the 3 other swans in the pond came to him, beckoning to him politely. And then they kindly said, "Come join us, come fly with us." And so the beautiful white swan flew off into the sunset with his new swan friends.
Hybrid media book for kids.
When the snowflakes drifted softly to the ground, a queen sat by her window, sewing a snow-white quilt. When she looked out of the window, the wintry landscape looked like a beautiful painting framed by the black ebony window frame. As she was sewing,
The new, fabulous way to play and learn.
Welcome to the world of Poptori fairy tales. You can read along or just listen and enjoy the pictures.
Who is the fairest of them all? The mirror would always reply in the same way. You, my queen, are the fairest of them all.
Hybrid media book for kids. Turn the page when you hear this sound. The new, fabulous way to play and learn. Hybrid media book.
Also currently in this series, The Ugly Duckling, Little Red Riding Hood, The Three Little Pigs, Sleeping Beauty, and
Santa Claus. Hybrid media book for kids. The new, fabulous way to play and learn.